Hello and welcome to Faith and Honest Conversation. I'm Thomas Rowland and this is James.
Hello.
Hi, James. And we're here to talk about our experiences of faith as honestly, as openly as we can, and hopefully make it okay for you to have your experiences, whatever they might be. So, James, I've come with nothing as normal as usual. What about you? Where are you at? And is anything emerging?
A few things sort of like emerging for me. I was thinking a little bit last time we spoke a bit about stillness, and I think that for me, I was in a bit of a funny headspace then. I don't know what was going on for me, but when we were talking about it, and I was kind of sort of like half of my brain felt like it was elsewhere, but I wasn't able necessarily to express that at the time. And then it's only sort of through reflection that I thought, oh, I was really not engaged when we were talking last time, and not sort of like didn't really feel so much part of the conversation as I was trying to keep up. And I think that just from I suppose just in like the interests of honesty, really, just wanted to say that, and like say that it's funny how differently I think about faith, and I think about spirituality and experience and all of this sort of stuff when my head's in a more alert or aware space, in more of a I guess an engaged frame of mind, than when I'm either a little bit spaced out or my brain isn't sort of firing on all cylinders. And the other thing I was going to mention was that at the moment I feel really disconnected. I'm in a very sort of I suppose lost sort of state of mind or frame, maybe more it's more feeling a little bit more spiritually lost than it is like a, just my brain's away, which again is something that I've noticed does come and go. And when I'm feeling a little bit lost or a little bit disconnected, the tendency is that it will last for a little bit of time. It will feel like forever, and then then I'll suddenly feel reconnected again at some point and go, oh, what was that all about? And I'm in a really good place. So it's very interesting like that. I guess that that's two different things really that I had to bring. And sort of like circling around in my brain when we were sitting there. Yeah.
And that sounds like themes of lostness and disconnection, maybe.
Yes, yeah, totally.
And I guess I'm wondering if you're aware of the reasons you weren't able to be fully connected or present last week.
No, I can't. I'm trying to remember. So last week, I can't remember what was wrong with me, but I was very I was very sort of like disconnected from the conversation, which and I remember we were talking about stillness, and knowing the context enough and knowing like what it was like enough to go, oh yeah, I do know what Tom's talking about, but I'm struggling to formulate it and to then formulate ideas and concepts. So I was really glad that you had something to bring that week, because I was not able to do that. Can't remember what your question was.
Yeah, about the reasons for not being able to.
Oh, the reasons. Yeah. So I'm not sure. Like, I think I was all right. Maybe I was feeling a bit ill. Certainly, my hay fever had been kicking off more than usual, and it's still really bad. But maybe I'd become more acclimatized to it, and sort of accustomed to not really having a full space of brain because there's so much snot going on. So that might be it. I don't know really. There are lots of different factors that might have been at play, but nothing particular springs to mind for last week. With regards to feeling disconnected in general on a spiritual level, I'm trying to think, okay, when did I start feeling like that? It's really hard to pin down, because usually it will be like I'll wake up one day and I'll feel a bit out of sorts, and that will be like maybe the beginning of feeling disconnected. But every time I wake up, it's like I have like a spiritual reset back to sort of like a base level of not feeling connected. And so it's through the course of the day that I might start to feel connected, or if I'm doing something that might make me feel connected. So the last time I felt really connected was probably last month, probably quite late last month, and perhaps maybe the beginning of this month, but I do think it's probably most of this month. So yeah, so quite a while really. And the things that will make me feel quite connected would be things like creativity and or like spiritual conversation. So this can really help. Just like stuff that really engages my brain and gets me to question and gets me to think. Yeah. So all that sort of stuff really is where I'm at, I suppose. Yeah.
And maybe I guess I jarred a bit with that make me feel connected. Like it somehow feels like, well, for me, there's something about just being with my disconnection and being with my lostness.
Yeah. Okay.
That then can give it space to move, maybe.
Like just the accepting of it and sitting with it. Yeah. No, that is really helpful, because I think that you're probably right. I think that is part of what helps it to dissipate, or to helps me to reconnect in some way, or to realize that that's a part of me as well. Yeah, that's helpful.
And I guess I'm wondering if I don't want to become a therapy session, but I think whatever comes out would be really interesting anyway. But like, I guess I'm wondering if it might be helpful to try like sitting with it now and just like seeing what emerges in kind of a free association or kind of bodily embodied way.
Yeah. So just like when you mentioned about like the sitting with it the first time, like I felt something shift like down in my stomach. It felt like I'm taking a deeper breath. I'm connecting a little bit. I'm actually connected the whole time, and I haven't been disconnected, but I've felt disconnected, but I'm not. So it's like just the acceptance makes a big difference, I think. Yeah, so that makes a real difference. I suppose like the sense of feeling lost, it's connected to purpose for me and meaning, which are like themes that I've been emerging for me all year, and maybe even not since last year, of like wanting some kind of goal or target, or they're not quite right, purpose or intention, some sort of intention that I can pursue, or like a track that I can follow, or some sort of guidance. And I think that I'm lacking that at the moment in some ways, because I don't feel fulfilled at work. But equally, a lot of my time outside of work is productive, but not necessarily the most fulfilling or the most fruitful. And so there's kind of, it's really interesting. I saw this. I probably talked about it before, like a diagram. It's like a Venn diagram of all like 4 different elements of life. So things that are like things that you love, things that you're good at, things that earn money, and things that help society or are helpful. And they're like they're all sort of arranged in kind of like crossing over spheres like that, or circles in sort of like a 4 in a sort of diamond. And where they cross over, and the very center of where they cross over, where all 4 of them cross over, that's like the key purpose, the key sort of like life goal for you. And I seeing that diagram was really helpful. What I haven't done is taken that diagram and written in it what I'd like, what would fit in all of those things. And like it on the other crossover section, so there's a point where 2 of the circles overlap here, and then a point where 3 of the circles overlap, then all 4, then 3, then 2 again. So the points where they overlap also have different things. So like things that are helpful or things that you're good at and things that make you money might create a career for you, or that type of thing. Yeah. So is it really interesting? I think it's a Japanese concept, or a Japanese process that's been developed. I can't remember where I was going with that now. I remember seeing that and thinking that I'm not sure what any of those things are for me at the moment. Or like not what any of those things, not what a lot of those things are. And maybe that's part of like, and again, in my own therapy, what I've been looking at is allowing my purpose to emerge. So exactly what you say, that's sitting with the being lost, that's sitting with the that sort of like sense of disconnect or purposelessness, and allowing it to be, rather than trying to pursue something, or frantically moving around, and that muddying the waters and making it less clear and less obvious where I'm supposed to be going. Yeah,
like the stillness lets things become clear.
Yeah, I think so. The analogy that we came up with, my counselor and I, was that it's a little bit like a fish in a river or in a pond or something like that, and it's trying frantically to swim, and as it's swimming, it's churning up the water and churning up the bottom, and that's making the pond murky. And if the fish is still for a while, all of that murkiness will start to settle and start to drift to the bottom, and there'll be more clarity, and then it might be obvious which direction to go. Oh, the river's that way, or actually the direction to go is this way. So that sort of analogy of like, the more I try and the more I strive to find a direction, the more difficult it is going to be to see it, because that trying and that striving is clouding the water, is making it more challenging to discern what's going on. Which actually, talking about it in that frame, it is really helpful for me, because I think that naturally I want to be still. Naturally, I want to just be, and not be striving, and not be frantically grabbing for this or that or the other. And I think that maybe because there's a lot of changes that are going on in my life at the moment, and I've experienced some significant major changes just in the past 6 years, all of that has kind of created this environment where I am kind of a little bit lost and a little bit unsure of which way I'm going to be going next, and unsure of what my life's going to look like, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I guess what's coming up for me, and I don't know if this is just a bit of an imposition, so I don't know, but like, what if we are really still and actually we find out it's dark still?
Oh, and we find out we still can't see.
Like, we find out we still can't see that there's a way to go.
Yeah. That's a really good question, and a real, and something that I have considered a bit. I think where I land with that is that it's better to be still and in the darkness than rushing around and in the darkness, because you don't know what you're going to hit. So there's sort of like a sense of, at least if you're still, you're not expending loads of energy. It's less stressful and less uncertain, I suppose. Even though like there isn't any clear certainty, you know that at the very least you're still. So it doesn't matter. Yeah. There isn't a direction as such. It's just a case of being still and a case of not.
And maybe that you're not missing anything.
Yeah, that's it. And it can be like, it can allow, although there's like the outward looking and sort of like looking around for where to go, there's also the inward looking, and I think the stillness allows for inward looking. So even if you can't see and you don't know where you're going, you can still come inwards, and that can allow peace, that can allow for like self-love and compassion and just space to just to be. And I think that possibly, and this might be right, that's where then the direction can come from that place of stillness,
like something inside you rather than
maybe
seeing something outside.
Rather than it being a signpost that you see, it's like a sensation or a sense of, this is where I'm going to be going next. This is, and I suppose to an extent I would equate that to prayer or communion or some form of like meditative. Prayer is probably the most accurate, where there's like, when I allow myself to go inwards, there is the space for dialogue with God, and the space for of communion with the divine. So it gives me that, and when you've got that interface, things can happen. But if I'm like looking outwards all the time and I'm rushing around, even if there's stuff going on in there, I'm probably missing it because I'm not listening. Like the stillness is a listening place as well, I suppose.
And what you said sounded really powerful, that this is where I am going next. I think you said that. I think you said that before talking to prayer. Like that sense of in the stillness, like this is where I'm going next.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That it becomes like almost an intuitive thing, like a revelation, I suppose, would be the sort of Christian.
Something discovered, or that just arises almost, or
that's it. Emerges, I think, is the
emerges,
best.
emerges. And is chosen maybe as well.
Because I think with all of that, it's like you could do this, you could do this, you could do that. There's like, it's optional. It's like the whole, I think it's funny. Yeah. I don't know, again, like I have lots of conversations with lots of different people, and I can't ever remember if it's stuff that we've spoken about before, or if it's just like random conversations with people. I remember thinking and talking to somebody about freedom, love being about promoting people's freedom. So if you love somebody, you want to promote their freedom as much as possible. And this, and so my concept of that, of like that offering up of like, or the emerging options that arise, being elective, you know, I don't have to, but that's something I could do, something I could engage with, is very much like that. Yeah. So if I don't want to, that's fine, because it's about, there's also an element of well, I say an element, there's also like God loves me and treasures me, and in amongst that is a real respect and a real treasuring of my freedom to choose, and I think that makes a big difference as well, to it not being like a command, you must do this. It's more of a, why don't you, would you like to, or I will help you, that type of thing. It's like a not, yeah, optional. It's really good. Yeah.
And something maybe something that I was going to say, something we can have towards ourselves, like in loving ourselves, that acceptance, that stillness comes from giving ourselves the freedom to just be, and not need a certain way, or not need a certain path. Yeah. And I guess some of the thinking some of my background thinking, or my philosophy maybe, is that like the franticness and this swirling around can be because we either don't want to face some of the rubble that's in the river with us,
Yes. Yeah.
or that we are really just scared that it is pitch black.
Yeah.
Like that there's something about our stories, and like, so when you were talking, I felt earlier when we talked about the embodied feeling, like this kind of pit, like rubble or stone, like, right, you can't see where I'm pointing.
Oh, okay. So
podcasters can't, but low down, like in my belly,
yes,
like at the back of my belly, like sinking or floating, sinking, and I think like that could be the stories of like, oh, am I good enough to, I mean, for me, this is my stuff,
sure.
but like, am I good enough to have a task, or to find out my vocation or meaning, and why is it not, why is this not happening, and am I allowed to, like, is it allowed, is it gonna
permitted?
And also, but I guess also I'm thinking more kind of maybe existentially there, that like, am I afraid that like, I think for my Christianity, historically, it's been about trying to find God's path for me, or God's
will,
God's will for me, and what if there isn't that? You know, what if there is no path that is going to mean I'm living a successful or godly or good or validated life? um, and yeah, so I guess or so or what if God is never going to show me it anyway, in like outside of myself with light, burning light or whatever, like. And I think the stillness comes when I can let all that just be,
Yeah.
in a sense, and settle, and then yeah, I really found that sentence powerful, that like there's sort of like a breath in and a relief, and then it's like, oh, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's and it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with that not of fears or not of uncertainties, but it kind of, they become less potent in the face of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Less potent. Yeah. Yeah. Then it's that it feels like a way that yeah. I'm going around in circles, but yeah, that it's not attached to those fears.
Yes.
And trying to swim away from those fears.
Yes, that's it. It's not a product of that, like trying to escape it or trying to deal with that head on. It's like it's come from a different place, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 It's really good, isn't it? I think for me, when you say stillness, that's almost the equivalent for me of acceptance, or maybe acceptance for me is wrapped up in stillness in some respects, like that they're intricately linked. Because like when I think on acceptance, and even now just like saying it and talking about it and just saying that, I think that they're intricately linked. I just get a real sense of peace, a real sense of like, oh yeah, that feels right. That feels, yeah, feels right. And it feels like when I get that, like, you were saying where you're feeling that pit, that sort of like not that density of emotions. I get like an expansion, or like a sense of space from where about my diaphragm is. It just sort of a sense of opening, and a sense of, and it's weird because it's not an opening upwards, it's an opening outwards, an opening, and like just like a spread, a space, and it's, I kind of equate it to the whole wide open space and place of stillness, and I imagine that like that's where like that meadow is somewhere there, and it's like the expansion of that meadow, and that the expansion of that glade, and it kind of puts me in mind of be still and know that I am God, wherever that is in the Bible. I know it's somewhere,
somewhere in the Psalms.
Psalms in this. Yeah,
I've not made it much more specific, but it's somewhere in the Psalms.
that small book. And the other thing is that comes to mind as well is someone once pointed out to me that quote from Isaiah, which is, I know that the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to destroy you, which is very, very quoted. But in the translation that we've got is plans are plural. So it's, I know the plans I have for you. So there isn't like, from that perspective as well, like thinking about meaning and purpose and what am I going to do and where am I going to go. This sort of sits with what you were saying about like them being optional and lots of them, is that if there are plans, multiple, then that's fine. That there are so many options. There's so many more. It's so much bigger. Yeah, I really like that, and I do, and it's at those sorts of moments that I can go, that's where the Bible's helpful. That's where it helps me. It's rare, but it does help. And I think that, like, I haven't read my Bible or a Bible, I should say, for a very long time. And like, I know it very well. I say very well, it sounds really arrogant. I know it quite well. I know, like, the sort of ins and outs of it, but like quoting it offhand, or like knowing where something is in the Bible, it doesn't come so naturally. So I don't know it very well, but I've read lots of it, if that makes sense. So there's stuff in my brain there, like that comes out from time to time. Yeah.
And it sounds like that's like when you said my Bible.
Yeah.
I kind of resonated with that, and I guess it's like that. My Bible maybe is that stuff that has become part of me.
Yeah.
Being ingested somehow through the reading or the studying or the meditating or the praying over or whatever, or the hearing sermon, like over that years, like what's become part of me.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a really powerful thing. Maybe my Bible is a bit different from a Bible.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, these are the things that have touched me, and these are the things that aren't quite inside me because I can't integrate them.
They
at least at this point or anymore or whatever. And that could be a useful,
it's like more personal concept, isn't it? And it's different from, like, I think the thing that used to come up a lot for me in church was that people would say, oh, but people pick and choose what they want to hear from the Bible, or they can make it say what they want it to say. I think, yes, I agree with that, but equally I really relate to what you're saying, and that's different from that, because it's like it's deeper than that. It's deeper than, like, just going, oh, I decided I didn't like this bit, so I've written it off. It's what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and it's like you're allowing it to be, and accepting it, and allowing the bits to flow in. Oh, in fact, actually, there is totally a verse to back that up, which is to do with eating the meat and spitting out the bones, isn't it? Can't remember where that comes from.
I have no idea about that verse, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, that it says somewhere that and it might be in reference to sermons, or to, like, when somebody's talking to you, or preaching to you, that you eat the meat from it and spit out the bones, so that, because not everything that they say will be helpful, or not everything that you hear will be helpful. And I think that that's true of the Bible as well, is that there's stuff in there that it's all there for a purpose and a reason, but at sometimes this is going to be really helpful for you to hear. At other times, this is going to be really helpful for you to hear. And I think that the danger is that we decide, oh no, it is all of the word of God, the infallible, inerrant word of God, and then so many problems arise from that belief, that sort of, like, perspective of taking it as completely word for word, infallible, inerrant, and yet if we allow it to be a little bit more organic than that, a little bit less rigid, and less like a book of rules, and something that we've got to beat ourselves over the head with, or other people over the head with, then that's where it can start to speak to us. Has more of a soul.
I think where I'm going with this is words suddenly failed me. the bread and the wine,
Yes.
and eat, this is my body, and that sort of experiential or embodied, like, maybe I'm just interpreting it very metaphorically here, but
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
that's fine. But like, there's something about my Bible being very close to the Word of God ingested, and I
Yeah.
like that idea of like, I don't get to decide really what my body ingests and what it spits out.
No, it takes what it needs.
And there's just a like honesty or self-honesty of like, or self discovery of like, oh, that's what's inside me from it.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think the problem with asserting that everything in the Bible is inerrant,
Yeah.
is that we lack that sort of, is that we can end up never like we kind of pretend what we've taken in.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And we just, we're just taking the whole Bible as we, like, but I think that's just pretending at root. Like, there's a lot that's going to be jarring or not fitting, or
or unhelpful,
and a lot that we've ingested that isn't part of the Bible at all. Like,
things that we've heard about the Bible but actually aren't in the Bible.
Or like just other parts of our life that are part of us, like from our culture and our social values and things. Like, so I think it's I think that I'm liking this metaphor and this idea of my Bible that I've just stopped you, James.
Yeah, well, good.
It, but like,
we'll
as a way of like, let's allow ourselves not to pretend, and let's be permissive of like, you know, we're going to take in some stuff and not other stuff, and and be curious about what we've taken in. And
I think that's it, isn't it? It's being. I think that's the key with the Bible is not to be, not to take it too heavily, to allow it to sit with us rather than to sit on us. And like I was going to say, not to take it too seriously. Obviously, it's quite serious, but not to take it too. You know, if it isn't quite speaking to you at a certain time or place, that's all right. Just move on and come back to it if you need to, or come back to it another time. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm at a place where I could sit with it again. Oh, only one way to find out. That's a good go. But I'm weirdly in a place where I feel like I could potentially do that. I keep looking over here because that's where my Bible is on the shelf over there. I've got. It's interesting because like probably even a month ago, or maybe even a week ago, I wouldn't have been in a place where I would be able to do that, or even consider it. Wouldn't be able to consider it. So. Yeah, that is interesting. Like, there's been definite changes this year for me. Yeah, definite shifts.
And it's a very different way of approaching the Bible.
Yes.
Like, sitting with it and just being curious. What am I ingesting? I guess.
Yes.
What am I taking in, or I don't know, what is touching me? And being able to, rather than what should I be doing, what is this telling me about God and myself and the world, like, that's a very different way, and it feels much safer, I think. Sorry, I kind of cut in.
No, not at all.
And you were really talking about how that's very new or very different to, and maybe the journey that you've been.
It was just an observation. Just an observation. And like very much a real-time observation. Oh, this is that's interesting. I've not noticed that before. yeah. But it's good. It is good.
I think we're coming to time.
Yeah. It's been good. It's been a really nice journey.
Yeah.
Little meander. I've
Yeah.
enjoyed that.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. And yeah, really, I feel really connected. I felt really connected. There was one thing that I'm just like, is just almost, for me, is crying out to be said.
Yeah,
but it's going to take us back, and I don't know if it's helpful, but I guess when you were talking about my experience of that bit inside me, or like rock, that, or density of emotions that you called it, that was falling, like I really, I felt it like crying out, don't you dare let me go.
Oh wow.
Don't you dare drop me, maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think I say that, like, I mean, we could have a whole therapy session on that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But there feels something there, like like real fear about letting go of that, or about that part of me being dropped.
Yeah.
Like that feels quite like primal, or quite, you know, maybe it's originating in early year stuff, or or maybe it's quite existential, I don't know. But it, like, I think there is that, like, what am I getting at? I think for me, going back to our metaphor, there is that real drive not to let everything settle. And just be with it. Like, everything settle is letting everything drop.
Right.
Kind of
Okay. And you feel like you've got to juggle that. You've got to keep that up.
Yeah, like there feels like something that's really scared of letting everything drop. And yeah, and I know that the more I can do that, the more I can get in touch with this sort of sense of it's okay, and this is what I'm going to do. Yeah, I just thought I'd share that because it was quite powerful.
That's amazing. I'm really glad you did. That was really beautiful. Yeah. And also, I think there's loads there to explore, and maybe we could explore that a bit further next time.
Yeah,
if you feel comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about if we remember.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
you know, that's not normal. Yeah, but I would be very, very happy to explore. Yeah, there feel like that tangle of emotion. That density of emotion feels like there's lots there.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Well, thank you, James. Again, I feel really connected, and
me too.
Enjoyed this, and hopefully others have really benefited from this as well. In whatever way.
I hope so.
Okay. Well, bye for now.
Bye bye.